Jasmine Crockett. Now, some of us may know Jasmine Crockett from being Kamala Harris's chief supporter. We may also know her from being a part of the AKAs and being one of Kamala Harris's chief supporters. But Jasmine Crockett decided today that she wanted to go off on white men,
Oh,
and
she
this was her.
Oh shit, I seen this bitch.
This
she
is
went
her
on white women
stance.
last time.
This is what she said.
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Crockett.
So many of you know that I practice law, but some of you don't realize that I actually was a business major out of Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. And the emphasis that I got in my business degree was on finance. And as I traveled the country campaigning this election cycle, one of the things that I talked about was this idea that in finance, we always promote this idea of diversity. If you know anything about a portfolio, the one thing that you want to do is make sure that it's as diverse as possible, because at times certain stocks will perform better than others, and they will exemplify various strengths and weaknesses. And together, a diverse portfolio is usually what any good finance person would promote. They wouldn't promote that you solely invest in vanilla wafers, believing that that is going to be the strongest portfolio, but instead they may want to add some chocolate cake and some Twinkies into the mix to make sure that we have the best portfolio, because there will be different preferences by different people, and again, there will be different strengths. But as I sit here and I think about what we say and what I'm hearing as it relates to diversity when it comes to anything outside of making money, and to be clear, we are losing GDP every time we try to push back on this idea of diversity, because all of us bring something different to the table. But you consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression, and I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed. That's not the definition of oppression. You tell me the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment that you've had, and we can have a conversation.
You could start with Exodus.
The final thing that I will say on this particular issue.
I cracked up at that part too, but I'm going to play the rest of it. I'm going to play the rest of it because I want to get the full context of what she's saying.
Two things. There is an article from The Guardian, and it is a little old. It's from 2021. So I apologize, but it said that back then, just 3 years ago, white men represent 30% of the population, but 62% of office holders. These are the issues that we are constantly looking at and recognizing and trying to say, is this just? I can't even tell you how many white men have served in this chamber, but I can tell you that I am only the 55th black woman to be elected to Congress. And so when you want to talk about history and pretend as if it was so long ago, it wasn't. Because again, I am just number 55. Finally, when we start to talk about what do these numbers do, as we're trying to say the diversity, equity, and inclusion is the problem, the reality is that when it comes to financial performance, companies with more diverse workforces are more.
You get the point. So, question is, as Jasmine Crockett goes off on white men. Two questions. Number one, is it racist for a person of color to speak like this? And then number two, is there a case to be made for diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I'll let y'all go because I got a lot to say. I ain't gonna lie. I got a lot to say about
Do
this.
your thing, Slimmy. Go ahead.
She's 1,000% wrong. For one, to say that you got dragged over from another continent is absurd. You didn't get dragged from anywhere. You were born in fucking America. So you can't use that. You got to just throw that shit out. You can't talk about something that happened 300 years ago and it's a story that you were told. That ain't even necessarily accurate. You don't even know if that's accurate. You just going with what they told you, which I don't even believe is accurate. It don't even make sense. The shit don't add up, but that's neither here nor there. But you can't go by what the past is because now you're living in an America where everybody is oppressed by the government. So yes, white men are oppressed. Black people are oppressed. Everybody's oppressed by the government because it's always some shit getting taken out our fucking checks called taxes.
That's a fact.
Flat the fuck out.
That's a fact.
Everybody. You got to pay that shit no matter what. You got to pay these motherfuckers back to do shit with your money that you might not even give a fuck about. I consider that oppression. I don't know what most people do, but I don't want my money going to no LGBTQ hubs when I go straight up the motherfucking street, and that's what I gotta fucking see. So yeah, I'm oppressed. And it's people that think like me, they're oppressed too. Because I don't want my money going for that. But it does. I don't want my money going to no drug centers because motherfuckers got caught up on opioids all of a sudden. It wasn't no drug centers for crack addicts. But now it's drug centers for opioids. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Now, if you want to put some homes together for the homeless, which they refuse to do, using our tax money to do that, they don't do that though. They don't use our tax money for that. We gotta get people together actually to do that shit in the community. They don't use tax money for that shit though. Period. But what they do use tax money for is these motherfucking immigrants. These motherfuckers is getting what, 20,000? What was they saying? What was that receipt that lady had? $20,000? $20,000? What? How much of my check is going to that? How much of the pre-taxes and the taxes is going to that? Fuck that. I don't want that shit coming out of my check, man. So yeah, everybody's fucking oppressed. I don't agree with nothing that she's saying. Nothing. And yeah, she being very racist because you can't say we all sit in this country together and nobody's oppressed with black people. You can't be serious about that. Everybody got problems. Every group of people. Period. Ain't no exceptions to the rule. What happened in yesteryear, we can't control that. We cannot. We can't. Why are we still focused on that shit? This motherfucker is billionaire. It's black billionaires. What are we talking about? Why the fuck did they put their money together? They ain't never put their money together to do shit. Except keep on perpetrating the same fucking philosophies and the same fucking ideologies as the motherfuckers that got all the money. So we can't complain because the motherfuckers that look like us that got the money, they still keep doing the same shit. So what you complaining about? Get your motherfucking money and keep your house in order, man. That's as simple as it get. Because we all oppressed.
Anybody want to follow up after Slimmy? I would like to hear Mika. Mika, go ahead. Give me something.
I mean, she kept saying the history. Okay, so if we're going to talk about history, there were Native Americans that were slaves. There were white people that were slaves because they did the same thing. They emptied a jail from England and other places, right? I'm trying to figure out what does all that have to do with what's going on right now? Like she's talking about right now. She's like, I'm the 55th black congresswoman.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You have a better argument about women than you would about race. I don't know. Like, I don't understand her argument at all. Like, what does that have to do with right now? Like, I'm not understanding her argument.
Keri, I think you want to make a case for diversity, equity, and inclusion. You look like you want to make a case for it. I could tell Keri like it.
Well, no, I'm over these conversations. She triggered me when she said something about you haven't been, what'd she say, dragged, or she referenced the treatment that our ancestors received that I'm sure she never received.
Exactly.
And I'm kind of tired of hearing us use our ancestors' stories to justify or do whatever they're attempting to do by bringing it up. But last time I checked, none of us had to deal with any of it physically. So that first part that just knocked me out. But she mentioned the school stuff, and I thought about that. I was like, how do I feel about the notion of removing some of the history out of school? Because I don't know if she's focused on the school part or the DEI part or both. But I personally think that it's okay that some of this what is going on with my picture? Oh. I personally think it's okay to remove a lot of this stuff because look at the energy that it conjures up. Like, it seems like when we go over our history, we just get so upset, and rightfully so to a degree, but it's stifling. I think we're at a point now where it has just stifled our progression, period. And I don't think that our ancestors who actually went through it would want us to utilize their struggle and pain in the way that we have used it. I think they would want us to have utilized it in a way that builds strength and builds forward movement, and being productive. And all of what she's doing, to Mika's point, I'm not clear on what is she advocating for by bringing all of this up. It sounds like she's just angry at what he said. And I looked it up. He said something about DEI oppresses white men. Is that correct?
So the idea of it is that diversity, equity, and inclusion, and this is what a lot of white people are saying, actually removes opportunity from white people, and they use white people as an example, but it removes opportunity from whoever it is that's the most qualified for the job. And instead it gives it discriminates against whoever it is that's supposed to have the job for somebody that may not be as qualified in the name of diversity.
Yeah, see, one of my late mentors who passed, well, obviously he passed. He was big on, don't, my company is not a black owned company. Like, I own a company and I happen to be black. And he said, I don't look for black candidates to be a part of the team. I look for the best. And if
Yep.
you happen to be black American and you're the best, well, that's good. But I'm looking for who's best. And I just think that mentality is so much more fruitful and so much more progressive than hire me because I'm black and because of what we used to go through. The history component is weird too, because when you think about it, people's argument sounds like they're trying to erase our history. Well, if our history is so important, where should you learn it? You should learn it at home.
Facts.
Schools weren't even created for kids to come and learn about themselves. They were created for people to go into the workforce. So if you really go back to the purpose of school, it's not for you to come and learn history. It's for you to learn how to do something.